Hello everyone, this is Ron from High Tech Legion, and this is the Gigabyte H77N-WiFi mini-ITX motherboard. Mini-ITX meaning it is small and measures 170 by 170 millimeters square. And if you haven't guessed by the name already, it comes with Wi-Fi capabilities delivered by the Intel Centrino module. It is an Intel Centrino 2230. And it is not only compatible with Bluetooth and Wireless-N network, it also provides wireless display capabilities. You can transmit your wireless display with a proper receiver or compatible hardware without any wires. But should you require to connect it directly in an HTPC setup, you also get two HDMI ports, a DVI-I port, and also you get full analog and full digital audio outputs as well. So let's just open the box up and see what we can find inside. Inside we get the motherboard itself, inside a protective ESD covering. Underneath a compartment reveals the accessories. You get a pair of antennas for the Wi-Fi module. Get the I/O shield. Is color coded and labeled, and it has a padding. You also get a pair of SATA cables. One is latched. Either both are actually latched, but one is a 90-degree angled one, and one is a straightforward SATA connector. And you get the manuals, rather one manual with the driver discs. You get the Wi-Fi Bluetooth disc and the 7 series utility DVD that contains the drivers for the chipset, the SATA network, and also includes the Norton and Adobe and EC Tune software. As for the manual, it's a shared manual for the Z77N and the H77N Wi-Fi. Since they both have the same layout, it is an all-English user's manual. Alright, here is the H77N Wi-Fi completely out of the packaging, and it uses the standard mini-ITX form factor of 170 by 170 millimeters. So it's quite small and would fit many home theater PC builds. As you can see that it has a built-in Wi-Fi module. You have the Centrino Wireless-N 2230. This is the one with the Bluetooth, and you also have the connectors in the rear. You attach the antennas included. And the layout is slightly different when it comes to ITX compared to standard ATX setups. It still has the dual channel memory connectors here for the DIMM slots. On the right side, it has a PCI-E Express port directly underneath that. For it runs at PCI-E Express 3.0 x16 when you have an Ivy Bridge module. But of course, they have to use the area with very much a lot of efficient changes compared to standard ATX. That's why they have a lot of components mounted here, surface mounted in the rear as well, including the Super I/O chip and some capacitors. And you also have, since it is an ultra durable design, you have solid core chokes, and you have high quality components, including the new glass fabric PCB fabrication that Gigabyte has been using with their newer model motherboards. And you have the standard ATX 24-pin power connector at the top instead of on the side, and you also get a 4-pin power connector. Since it is not an overclocking platform, it doesn't require more than 4 pins. And you also get, for the connectivity, get a USB 3.0 header on board for the front panel connector. You have a pair of SATA 6G and a pair of SATA 3G ports. The black one for the SATA 3G and SATA 6G is a white one, both coming from the Intel chipset. So same with the USB 3. You have the front panel connectors that are color coded. You might have to consult the manual here, since the layout is slightly different from the standard ATX. Although they are color coded and they have the polarity shown there, so it's easier to install things whenever it's inside a cramped, smaller case. And you also get, of course, there's a BIOS here at the lower right hand corner. And for the fan connectors, you get a CPU fan header here right beside the front panel audio with the SPDIF connector. See the Realtek chipset there. It is an ALC892 Realtek codec. And you have another 4-pin PWM fan header in the rear right beside the ATX 12-volt connector. Now, unfortunately, as you can see there, there isn't enough space here. There is a COM port right beside the Wireless-N module. This Wireless-N module is actually capable of wireless display Intel Wi-Fi, so that comes in handy. But as you can see there, for those who want to maybe install an mSATA card there, fortunately the heatsink and the COM port is blocking in the way, so you won't be able to remove that and place an mSATA port in there since there isn't enough room. Also, a front panel USB 2.0 header, output to USB 2.0 for your front panel for your case, for example, or to the rear. And let's check out the connectors here in the rear. I have my, you can see the analog audio with the optical out. You have a pair of Gigabit Ethernet, courtesy of Realtek 8111F. And you also have a pair of USB 2.0 ports in each of them, so that's 4 total. For display outputs, you have a DVI, and you get a pair of HDMI ports, and another USB 3.0 output here is built in with a combination PS2 port for the keyboard and mouse. So it definitely is a perfect HTPC built platform, since you have 2 display output with HDMI, and you also get the Wi-Fi and dual LAN support. And what we should do now is, of course, put in our i7-3770K processor and test out how well the Gigabyte H77N mini-ITX motherboard performs. We are going to test it out with the integrated graphics, since that is what most people will be using in this case, although it is capable of expanding to having an external or a discrete GPU at the bottom for a more powerful combination.
There are plenty of positive things to say about the Gigabyte H77N-WiFi motherboard, but first and foremost, the most impressive part is the price. And compared to typical ITX motherboards that are H77 chipset based, they retail for around $99, but the H77N-WiFi from Gigabyte retails for $109.99, and it is even lower at UI, currently at $104.99. Now that $5 and $10 difference is not significant, but the feature set you get for the H77N Wi-Fi is quite significant. First of all, you get the Bluetooth and Wi-Fi functionality with the Centrino N2230 module installed in there, PCI-E, and of course you get the dual LAN for teaming. Now what these do is that it opens up your HTPC build to a different level. It's not just your you're not just relying on the wired connectivity, although it has dual HDMI, which works quite well, even a DVI port, DVI-I, and it has, of course, full audio output. You have the analog output or the digital output for audio, And what that does, the wireless connectivity and the RJ45 connectivity, is that a lot of the sources for HD media nowadays are online. Not many people actually, well, a lot of people still use home servers or NAS, and they store their media files there, but for the most part, the speeds are good enough that, and there are plenty of services that offer good HD media streaming options that most people stream it from there anyway. Netflix or Amazon or Hulu Plus or iTunes, a lot of people get HD media content from there. So having flexible internet connectivity options is quite significant for an HTPC build. And also the fact that you have Bluetooth functionality for media sharing, easy, quick media sharing. Most people have plenty of devices now that are Bluetooth capable. Just throw in or share device back and forth. You don't need to connect any wires at all. But if you do, of course, need to connect a device, there is USB 3 functionality in the H77N-WiFi, and also the fact that if you are going to use it instead as a home file server, you get the teaming option. So you get max throughput with the two RJ45 ports in the rear. And also, you can also maybe build a mini-ITX gaming rig. You can just throw in a good video card in there, and it doesn't really require that much horsepower with the CPU. Even the i3s, latest Ivy Bridge i3s are quite good as a CPU with a very good high-end video card, and you can just throw it into a BitPhoenix Prodigy, which is quite popular these days for a mini-ITX gaming build. Then you have something that you can take into LAN parties, and also as a low-cost Hackintosh solution, it works quite well. You have, of course, maybe $500 to $600 build. You can just buy a mini-ITX case that has an integrated processor in there and a low-power Ivy Bridge processor to match it, and then maybe an SSD, and you're good to go. So the possibilities are quite wonderful for having the H77N-WiFi motherboard and just the mini-ITX. You'd think the mini-ITX form factor would be limiting, but in fact it isn't, as Gigabyte has proven. And surprisingly, there are only very few things I disliked about the board. The fact that you cannot replace the Intel Centrino module with an mSATA option, because the COM port and the H77 heatsink is on the way. That was unfortunate, but either way, it's not really a game breaker for most people. There's still two more ports there, and there's two more SATA 3 and two more SATA 6G ports, so not an issue. Plus you get USB 3 connectivity in the rear anyway, and one more for the header, so you can just use external storage for storing your media files and your other items. And also the fact that unlike the H61 and the H55, I had the H55. I had a previous build with that. That was about what, two generations ago, and I was quite impressed with it. They had voltage options for underclocking. A lot of people were looking for that, but unfortunately, the H77N did not have any voltage options in the UEFI to undervolt it. Understandably, some people will not be overclocking. Gigabyte didn't want people to overclock their H77N Wi-Fi motherboards, but an undervolt option would have been nice, especially for people who want to kind of lower the temperatures a bit, even slightly. And other than that, I love the performance, the options, the features available, and it definitely deserves the High Tech Legion Gold Award. The price is quite well, and I highly recommend this motherboard.